He was a ghost in the system, a phantom of the digital age, exiled from his homeland, hunted by shadows. But this was no ordinary exile. It was a journey marked by relentless pursuit and unwavering determination. Yet, Pavel Durov had built an empire not of bricks and mortar but of ideas and innovation. His creation, a digital fortress, stood tall in the virtual world, not on land or with armies but with lines of code and a vision of freedom, a vision that transcended borders and defied conventional norms, but with lines of code and a vision of freedom. His code was his weapon, his vision his shield. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond that would challenge the status quo. This is the story of a rebel, a visionary, a man who saw beyond the horizon, a man who dared to dream and had the courage to turn those dreams into reality, a man who dared to challenge the Kremlin and in doing so, reshape the landscape of communication. His defiance was not just against a regime, but against the very notion of control. In doing so, reshaped the landscape of communication. He envisioned a world where information flowed freely, unburdened by the chains of censorship. Durov's journey reads like a techno-thriller, a high-stakes game of cat and mouse played out across continents and cyberspace. Each step he took was fraught with danger, each move calculated with precision. A high-stakes game of cat and mouse played out across continents and cyberspace. From the bustling streets of Moscow to the serene landscapes of distant lands, his quest for freedom knew no bounds. It's a story of ambition and idealism, of ruthless efficiency and unwavering principles, a tale where every keystroke mattered and every decision had far-reaching consequences, of ruthless efficiency and unwavering principles. His principles were his guiding light, leading him through the darkest of times. It's a story that begins, as many do, with a spark of an idea that had the potential to change the world, and change it did. Durov understood the power of connection. He knew that in the digital age, connection was everything. It was the lifeblood of progress and the foundation of innovation. He knew that information was currency in the digital age, and he sought to create a platform where it could flow freely, unburdened by censorship or surveillance. A platform that would empower individuals and foster a new era of digital freedom, unburdened by censorship or surveillance. This pursuit would lead him into a head-on collision with one of the most powerful forces on Earth, the Russian government. A collision that would test his resolve and his commitment to his ideals. This pursuit would lead him into a head-on collision with one of the most powerful forces on Earth, the Russian government. And it would ultimately force him to choose between loyalty to his country and loyalty to his ideals. A choice that would define his legacy. And it would ultimately force him to choose between loyalty to his country and loyalty to his ideals. A choice that would define his legacy and shape the future of digital communication. Petersburg to Silicon Valley, the rise of VK. Pavel Durov was born in 1984, on the cusp of a technological revolution. The world was changing rapidly, and the seeds of the digital age were being sown. In the backdrop of a Soviet Union that was still grappling with its identity, a young boy was about to embark on a journey that would eventually reshape the digital landscape of an entire nation. He grew up in the shadow of the Iron Curtain, but his mind soared beyond borders, captivated by the burgeoning world of the internet. The Iron Curtain may have restricted physical movement, but it couldn't contain the flow of information and ideas that were beginning to permeate through the cracks. Young Pavel found solace and inspiration in the digital realm, a place where boundaries seemed to dissolve. He was a gifted student, excelling in languages and computer programming. His academic prowess was evident from a young age, and he quickly became known for his exceptional skills. Whether it was mastering a new language or writing complex code, Pavel approached every challenge with a relentless determination and an insatiable curiosity. He devoured knowledge like oxygen, always hungry for more. Books, articles, and online resources became his constant companions. Late nights were spent poring over texts and experimenting with new programming languages. His thirst for knowledge was unquenchable, and it was this drive that would eventually lead him to create something extraordinary. In 2006, while studying at St. Petersburg State University, Durov launched VKontakte, VK, a social networking site inspired by Facebook. The idea was simple, yet revolutionary, to create a platform where people could connect, share, and communicate freely. VKontakte quickly became a hub for social interaction, a digital meeting place that resonated with the youth of Russia. VK was an instant success in Russia, quickly amassing millions of users. The platform's user base grew exponentially, and it wasn't long before VK became a household name. People from all walks of life flocked to the site, eager to be part of this new digital community. The rapid growth of VK was a testament to its appeal and the vision behind it. It was sleek, it was intuitive, and most importantly, it was cool. The design and functionality of VK set it apart from other social networking sites. It was user-friendly and visually appealing, making it easy for people to navigate and engage with content. The platform quickly became synonymous with modernity and innovation. VK became the digital heartbeat of a generation, a virtual town square where young Russians could connect, share, and express themselves. It was more than just a social networking site, it was a cultural phenomenon. VK provided a platform for self-expression and creativity, allowing users to share their thoughts, ideas, and experiences with a wider audience. But VK's meteoric rise did not go unnoticed. The platform's success attracted attention from various quarters, including the business community and the media. Headlines celebrated VK's achievements, and tech conferences featured discussions about its impact on the digital landscape. However, this newfound fame also brought with it a different kind of attention. As the platform's influence grew, so too did the scrutiny from the Russian government. The authorities began to take a closer look at VK, wary of its potential to influence public opinion and mobilize dissent. The government saw the platform as both an opportunity and a threat, and this duality would soon lead to increased pressure on Durov and his team. The Kremlin, wary of any platform that could potentially be used to organize dissent, began to take an interest in Durov's creation. The government's interest was not merely academic, it was driven by a desire to control and monitor the flow of information. VK's open and free nature was at odds with the state's need for oversight and regulation. What began as subtle pressure would soon escalate into a full-blown confrontation, pitting a tech-savvy entrepreneur against the might of the Russian state. The stakes were high, and the battle that ensued would test Durov's resolve and determination. It was a clash of ideologies, a struggle between innovation and control, and the outcome would shape the future of digital freedom in Russia. The Russian government, with its tight grip on traditional media, saw the burgeoning power of social media as both a threat and an opportunity. They understood that controlling the narrative in the digital age required more than just state-run television and newspapers. Social media platforms like VK were becoming the new battlegrounds for public opinion and dissent. They recognized the influence VK held over millions of Russians, and they wanted in. The government saw VK as a tool that could be harnessed to monitor and manipulate public sentiment, to keep a closer eye on its citizens. At first, the requests were subtle. Remove a group critical of the government, hand over data on a few specific users. These initial requests were framed as necessary for national security, a common justification used to mask more sinister motives. But Durov, a staunch believer in free speech and privacy, refused to comply. He had built VK on the principles of openness and user privacy, and he was not about to compromise those values. He saw these requests for what they were: attempts to control the narrative, to silence dissent. Durov understood that once he started giving in to these demands, it would be a slippery slope towards complete government control over the platform. He knew that giving in, even a little, would set a dangerous precedent. It would signal to the government that VK was willing to bend to their will, and that was something Durov could not allow. His refusal was met with increasing pressure. The government did not take kindly to defiance, especially from someone as influential as Durov. The stakes were high and the tension was palpable. Government agencies leaned on VK's investors, threatening lawsuits and sanctions. They hoped that financial pressure would force Durov to comply, but Durov, however, remained defiant. He was not easily swayed by threats or intimidation. He publicly mocked the government's attempts to censor VK, posting pictures of his dog in a hoodie, defying their demands for user data. This act of defiance was not just a personal stand, it was a public statement against government overreach. His defiance turned him into a folk hero, a symbol of resistance against government overreach. People rallied behind him, seeing him as a champion of free speech and digital freedom, but it also made him a target. The more he resisted, the more the government saw him as a threat that needed to be neutralized. The Kremlin, accustomed to obedience, did not take kindly to being challenged, especially by a young upstart. They were determined to bring Durov and VK under their control, no matter the cost. In 2014, after years of mounting pressure and veiled threats, Durov was forced to sell his stake in VK and flee Russia. He left behind his company, his country, his life as he knew it, but he refused to abandon his ideals. He landed in self-imposed exile, a digital nomad with a mission. Durov understood that the need for secure, private communication was more important than ever. He envisioned a platform that couldn't be touched by government censorship, a digital sanctuary for free speech. And so, from the ashes of his forced exile, Telegram was born. Telegram was built from the ground up with security and privacy as its core tenets. End-to-end encryption became its defining feature, ensuring that only the sender and receiver could read messages, not even Telegram itself. This commitment to privacy, coupled with its sleek design and user-friendly interface, quickly attracted millions of users worldwide. But Telegram's true test was yet to come. As Telegram's user base grew, so too did its reputation as a platform for free speech. People flocked to Telegram, drawn to its promise of privacy and security. Activists, journalists, and whistleblowers, living under repressive regimes, found a voice on Telegram. It became a lifeline for dissent, a digital safe haven in a world increasingly surveilled. When protests erupted in Hong Kong, Belarus, and Iran, Telegram became a crucial tool for organizers. It allowed protesters to communicate securely, coordinate their actions, and share information without fear of government reprisal. The app's encrypted messaging and group chat features proved invaluable in circumventing state censorship and organizing resistance movements. Telegram's role in these protests solidified its reputation as a champion of free speech. It had become more than just a messaging app. It was a digital weapon in the fight against oppression. But its growing influence did not go unnoticed. Governments around the world, threatened by its ability to facilitate dissent, sought to shut